See, welcome to, let's see, September 8th, 2020, Town of Wakefield Planning Board meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And we've had some updates. So just in order of business, our website now has meeting minutes listed all from 2019. It also has videos, and it should have videos for the previous meetings too. We're still working on the meeting minutes for 2020. And I know that's one of the first things on tonight's agenda. And I did not get those all together at the end of last week. I took a couple of days off, so we'll be getting to those. And Susan will help me organize those this week, and we'll get them for review. We're at like 4 meetings now that we have to pull all together. Let's see. We talked about the approval of the meeting minutes. We'll table those to the next meeting. And item number 3, working session related to the possible zoning amendment proposed by the Savings Bank. Lovis Ave, item number 4, public hearing. So this information is also posted on the planning board website for the town. If you need to get that information earlier, our hope is to post that the Wednesday and Thursday latest before each meeting. We have an A&R plan, approval not required plan for Nahant Street. We'll look at that. 14 Montrose School Lane and 7 Glendale. We'll review those reports and then some items not anticipated by the chair. So with that, Attorney McGrail, are you ready to give us a quick briefing on the zoning amendment? And if you want, I can share my screen, or if you'd like to take over, let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, public. With me tonight is Bob DeBella. See Bob on the screen. Rachel Kellery might be on also. I don't know if she's representing the Savings Bank. As the board is aware, Savings Bank is going to be proposing another zoning change at the town meeting in November. And what we've done this time is we wanted to meet with the board and talk about what we were proposing prior to actually filing it with the town council. We discussed it at your last meeting, and I've submitted some text that we can go over tonight. I'd like to do that in some detail. And what we've done with this bylaw change, if the board might remember at the June town meeting, a text amendment that was proposed by the Savings Bank and 20 residents did not pass. And some members of the public at town meeting gave what I thought was good testimony and raised some concerns that they had with the article, and I do think it influenced the town meeting, and I understand why. So since that occurred, I've watched the meeting a number of times to listen carefully to those concerns that were raised in an effort to address them in a redraft, because the consistent theme of the people that actually spoke at town meeting that had concerns with the article was that they thought it was a good proposal to help the bank and other banks, but it needed to be tightened up. And that's what I think we're seeking to do. And we're planning, after tonight, hopefully we can vet this with your board and present it. And we want to file this with the town clerk tomorrow to get it on the town council's agenda for their meeting next Monday, because as you're aware, then they have to refer it to you once we file it. And then we have to do the public notice for the planning board public hearings. And the town meeting is sometime in November. So that's going to come up pretty quick. So I always like to have at least an opportunity for 2 planning board public hearings, at least prior to town meeting, where you have to make your recommendation. So that is the goal. I also, as part of the process in drafting this, I reached out to what I would say were the 2 main individuals that spoke at town meeting with their concerns. And they were kind enough to spend time with me to talk about it. One of them reviewed it in detail, and I spoke with him this morning, and he seems pretty satisfied with it, with what we've done to address the concerns. So I've tried to make this a cooperative effort and bring some folks in with input. I also have had an opportunity to have town council take a look at what you're going to see. And Tom made some comments and gave some thoughts and changes that he would suggest. So with that said, Mr. Chairman, is it possible that I could take over the screen for a minute?
Please do. I'm not sure I have to give you, I think you can go ahead and.
Let me try to do
Do you have the
that.
green button to share?
Hang on one second. Share screen.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
you disabled me.
How did I do that? Let me see. Let me see. So you have to promise to give this back, but I'm making you the host. And then you can go ahead and share.
I can't give it back fast enough.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
See if, did that work?
Not yet.
Okay, should be up there. Oh, let me just try this. Hold on. Share screen. Oh, here we go. How about that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is, we can kind of go through this if it's okay with you.
Please do.
And I want to talk about.
Attorney McGrail, if you want to, let's make sure we follow too, because I'm not going to be able to see if anybody raises their hands. So let's wait till you're finished, and then the planning board can add comments and we can have a conversation. And then if anybody else wants to add some comments, they can.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So one of the main comments at town meeting was the way it was drafted before was it talked about financial institutions, business offices, professional offices, but it really didn't deal with a bank. And that was one of the concerns that, hey, you know, we don't really have a problem with banks per se, but the way it's written is just too broad that it could open the door for, you know, other office type buildings or, you know, other things that might be deemed to be a financial institution. So, you know, the goal would be to help the banks, but to limit it to banks. And, you know, part of the issue with that and the way it was drafted before is that there's no definition of bank in our bylaw.
Hey, Brian, sorry to
yes.
interrupt. Could you enlarge that? Can you just zoom in or?
I think I can. Yep. Hold on. Let me just see here. Is that better?
No, I think if you just
What do you want?
hold down control and scroll forward, it will make it larger.
Oh, hold on.
Well,
All right. So you want me to scroll down and hit
no,
control?
you don't have to select anything.
Okay.
If you hold down control on your keyboard and scroll your mouse forward, it should enlarge, just zoom in.
Oh, there you go.
There you go, that way.
Oh.
Yep.
Geez,
Okay.
you learn something every day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to use that from now on. So as I was saying, you know, part of the issue was that our bylaw doesn't have a definition of bank. So what we decided to do was to give a definition to bank. And we've defined that as you know, because our bylaw has financial institutions. Financial institutions could be insurance companies, it could be, as was stated at town meeting, could be Fidelity, you know, so it could be a variety of things, and that was part of the concern. So now we've limited it to give a definition to a bank, and a bank is a financial institution, one of maybe other things that could be authorized, licensed, or chartered by the state or federal government that maintains depository accounts for customers, accepts deposits, pays withdrawals, clears or cashes checks, pays interest, makes loans, and in addition may provide other financial related services to its customers. So it really needs to be someone dealing with bank, you know, the typical bank that you would think about when you go into the bank. And then what we're seeking, as you know, is to create some dimensional opportunities or relief opportunities for banks, but it's really the bank building that would be needed. And then with the folks I dealt with, we discussed this and we've kind of limited this, and I'm going to go through it and maybe explain it as I go through it. So a bank building is a building solely occupied or used by a bank, as a bank, I should say. So that that dismisses the concern that, hey, maybe somebody will do a building and half of it will be a bank and they'll put something else in the other half, and then they'll try to get a bunch of dimensional relief, like a mixed use type of building. So this is limiting. It has to be a self-standing, freestanding bank building. And it has to be staffed by personnel, where customers may visit and conduct business in person and interact with personnel. And just to stop there, the reason for that was, it was talked about that, gee, maybe, somebody could put an ATM machine in their lobby and say, hey, I'm a bank or a financial institution. So now they actually have to have staff, customers have to visit, be able to conduct business in person and interact with personnel. And the bank building, it's including areas within the building, such as lobby areas, teller areas, automatic teller machine areas, conference rooms, and customer lounge areas, along with areas that are exclusive to personnel, such as safe or storage areas, personnel offices, personnel work areas, personnel conference rooms, and other personnel related facilities such as a cafeteria. So now we've got a definition of a bank and we've got a definition of a bank building, which is again solely occupied by or used as a bank. And then what we've done is there was a concern about the broadness of the relief that might be given or was allowed for. And in the prior version, I thought a good comment was made that we, someone said, there's too much ability to extend the height of the building. We took that out, but now what we've done is we've really limited it to what might be required by banks in the downtown area, what would be helpful. And so it goes on, it amends the general regulations of the bylaw to add 190.31L, which states the Board of Appeals may allow reductions and/or increases to the floor area ratio, which I think we're all familiar with now, the reasons that banks need help with that, maximum building coverage, minimum open area, and front yard setback requirements of Table 2, Table of Dimensional Regulations of the zoning bylaw, Town of Wakefield, for a bank building. So it's only for a bank building by special permit, and now it's only in the business district. So it's limited to that. It's interesting because I'm going to show a table in a minute, I'll explain why we need the front yard setback requirement, which is an interesting provision in the bylaw or in the table. Any such reductions and/or increases shall be supported by evidence of lack of suitable land or design considerations or other similar factors. The Board of Appeals must also find that the granting of said special permit will not adversely affect the health, safety, convenience, character, or welfare of the neighborhood of the town. So I think this really addresses what the concerns that were raised, and I think it does it in a way that is able to help specifically the banks that we're looking to help. So when we spoke a couple of weeks ago on this, it was suggested by your board that, gee, maybe you could show a table that might kind of highlight, what relief in the business district that, would be afforded. So I did that. Let me scroll and make this bigger. Okay.
Attorney McGrail, we can't see the table yet.
Oh, sorry.
You might have to redo the share.
Well, it might have been my fault. Hold on.
It's okay.
Here we go. Just bear with me, please.
It's okay. If you click on the green share
Yeah, I'm having a hard
button,
time.
it might ask.
I gotta
I think
shrink
it
this
gives
down
you
a
the
bit.
option to.
Hold on, I gotta blow this up again. For some reason, I'm just having a hard time getting back to the main Zoom screen. Maybe you can help me with that. Oh, hold on, there it is.
Okay.
Let me see if this
The
works.
panel. Sometimes it's hidden.
Oh, there it is. New share.
Bottom.
Okay, new
Yeah.
share.
Yep.
Thank you. It was hidden up top behind my camera.
Yeah. Sometimes it That's a little,
Can you see it now?
yes. It's
Okay.
small.
Great, I'm gonna blow it up.
All right.
Whoop. That helpful?
Yes.
There we go. Okay, so the relief opportunity that will be afforded by this, again, it's limited to the business district, and that's why I've highlighted that. So let's go through the table. In the business district, there is no minimum lot area requirement, period. So there's no minimum in any business lot. So obviously, there'd be no need to seek relief for that. And what's being proposed doesn't allow for it, but it's not needed anyways in any form, shape, or fashion. Maximum density. So there's a footnote 6, if you'll see it there, for maximum density. So if you go down to 6, for multifamily and detached dwellings in the business district, see 190.31. So there's no relief, there's no maximum density applicable to banks, and footnote 6 wouldn't be applicable to a bank. So there's no relief that's being required for that. Frontage and width requirements, 40 feet is what's required. We're not seeking any relief for that or any ability. I mean, 40-foot wide lot is pretty narrow. I don't think you're going to get much narrower than that anyways, to make something work. I mean, if the board thought that that was needed, we could add that in. I personally don't see a need to ask for relief for that, so we did not include that. The next is floor area ratio, which is 1.5 in the business district. That's probably the biggest form of relief that is needed, and that's why it's highlighted. So the next one is interesting because if you look at front setback, there is no front yard setback in the business district. But when you go over to footnote 8 in the height, which is kind of an odd place for this to be, 60 feet height is the maximum height. We're not looking for relief for that at all. To give you a flavor, the Oddfellows building, which is part of the bank now, I think is about 54 feet high. To give you an idea, where 60 would be, but we're not looking to be able to go over the 60. And I think that the addition that the bank is actually proposing that will be the first time this will be utilized is about 35 feet. So, but in any event, this footnote 8 is interesting in this spot because if you go down, I've highlighted that. And what it says is buildings over 50 feet shall provide a front yard setback of 5 feet plus 1 foot for each foot of height in excess of 50 feet. So in that footnote 8, they put it in the height, but it really pertains to front yard setback. So that's why in the bylaw draft, there's nothing on height, but there is a request to be able to reduce front yard setback. The savings bank, interestingly, would need that form relief because the Oddfellows building is incorporated to what they will be doing with their whole site, and that is over 50 feet. The next is maximum building coverage, which is 80%. We have talked about that in the past. I mean, when the savings bank is done with their project, they'll be almost covering their whole lot, as most of the downtown business district does. And finally, the minimum open area is 10%. And we would look at the special permit process would be able to give relief for that. So I hope that's helpful. I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't touch on footnotes 7. If I could go back to side and rear on the setbacks. So right in this area, what's really interesting is except for the height that I just went through, there is no front yard setback in the business district unless you're over 50 feet. And there is no side or rear yard setback requirement in the business district. The only time that would be required would be a minimum of 15 feet adjacent to a residential district. And if you recall, the last time that we had the proposal for June before your board, we actually had, I think it was a 190-31 L and M. And M dealt with relief from that because we didn't know if the zoning map was going to get amended or not, which went first. And if the zoning map had not gotten amended, the savings bank in particular would have needed relief from that. Where the zoning map got amended, there's no need for that anymore. So that's
Right.
why there's no more 190.31M as there was before. And the savings bank in particular, and now that we extended that line, can meet those requirements, as could the Wakefield Cooperative Bank, which are probably the two biggest banks of concern, I think, as part of this bylaw change. So neither one of them in particular would need that relief. And the rest of downtown doesn't get near the residential district. So there's really no need to provide the opportunity for that relief. So I think, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, we've really put a lot of thought into this. And I know you're gonna have a hearing on it. So
Right.
you know, we're not looking for you to say, oh, this is great, I guess. You know, we're just kind of looking for your input, as we always do. And we like that. If there's anything that you would like to add, or concerns that you might raise. I did want to address one thing because Mr. Lowry mentioned at the last meeting, you know, parking, that, you know, that could be a concern. We're not looking for relief from parking. Right now in the bylaw, the zoning board is allowed to reduce the parking requirement by special permit, and it has to be justified to do so. So, you know, that is already, we're not looking for any further change on that, like to say, oh, and by the way, any of these changes aren't subject to parking requirements.
Right.
We're not looking to afford that opportunity. We're happy to live with the bylaw as it is, as everybody else does in the business district, as far as parking is concerned.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you did reach out to those at town meeting that did, and you obviously watched the the meeting recordings. That helps. And I know you've addressed the comments that we've had about adding the chart and possibly, well, addressing parking. That's good. Is that, how is so the parking, just to be clear, would be in front of the ZBA. So if there was anything going in for a special permit, obviously you would go through, and parking would be one of those items discussed.
Yeah, so basically, you know, parking is required for different uses in downtown or in the business district. It's calculation, you know, usually for service establishments, which would, I think a bank would be covered as, it's one per 250 square feet, one parking space per 250 square feet. But because, you know, I think it's because, you know, it's well known that, you know, really no one in the business district, especially downtown, can comply with the parking requirements. The Board of Appeals, depending on the project, can give relief from the required number of parking spaces and other parking requirements by special permit already.
Okay.
That's it. That's been in our bylaw for quite some time.
Yeah, that's good to explain. It's good to have that as an understanding. Matt, Bill, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I do. So on this chart, you want to get rid of footnote 8? Is that what you're saying?
Let me get back to it. Can you see it now, Matt?
Yeah, I can
Yes.
see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to get rid of it. We want, that's why when you, so if you see footnote 8, so buildings over 50 feet shall provide a front yard setback of 5 feet plus 1 foot for each foot of height in excess of 50 feet. So we're not looking to get rid of that. But for a bank, what we're looking to do is this. The Board of Appeals may allow, I'm down here, Board of Appeals may allow reductions and or increases to floor area ratio, maximum building coverage, minimum open area, and front yard setback requirements.
Brian, you might want to switch to that screen.
Oh,
You can see
sorry.
it. It's okay.
I don't know why it does that.
Now you know where it's hiding, and you can just
Yeah, hang on.
switch the shared view.
Here you go. Sorry about that. That better?
Nope, yeah, there it is. Thank you.
Okay. So I was referring right down to here. front yard setback requirements. So initially, I didn't think, there would be a need for front yard setback relief, but because of that footnote 8, Matt, that's why front yard setback relief would be included. So we're not looking to eliminate that at all. That would 100% apply for anything besides a bank. But a bank would be able to have the opportunity to get the special permit to reduce that front yard setback requirement that's required by footnote 8.
Well, since it's an existing condition out there, basically be grandfathered in, I would prefer that you keep that in there so another bank doesn't come in and say, rip their building down and go up higher and not have to have that setback. So I understand you're trying to clear up everything for the savings bank, but this could come back to bite the town with a different bank coming in here that we might be a little less friendly to the aesthetics of the town and want to maximize as much as possible.
Sure. So, the problem with that is this would apply. So the savings bank won't be grandfathered on this because once they're taking on another piece, which is Hartson, and then they're going to merge those lots. So now it becomes a new lot, not a grandfathered lot anymore. So now everything needs to meet all of the requirements.
So it would be another waiver you'd go for then, right? That's all, or another.
Well, then if this wasn't here, it would be a variance, which we're trying to avoid. And this would also apply to, anything that would happen with Wakefield Cooperative Bank and the Shawmut Bank, or I call it the Shawmut Bank, the Santander Bank, which is now,
Right.
Vacating that building. So any changes that they made to that would require. I would never want to rely on a legal non-conforming structure to alter that. So I think, I hear what you're saying, but I really feel a need to keep that in there.
Well, yeah, I understand your point here is to have a clean, smooth sailing for the bank's project here, but by exclusively writing these zoning amendments for your case, we could have some unintended consequences down the road, and I'm a little leery of that. So I'm just letting you know right now that you may have to go for a variance on a couple things, but that's, I understand you want to alleviate all those options right now, but you got to work with what we have too. Or, you can put it forward, but that could be one of the issues that come up.
No, I understand that. That's why we're here. So I'll contemplate that and thank you.
And the other thing that I brought up about parking, it wasn't that I was looking for you to have relief from it. I was looking for you to address what you're going to do about parking. You're adding a lot of square footage down there. I simply said that you may want to think about your answer if someone brings this up. That's all. I wasn't looking for you to look for relief from parking.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Understood.
Brian, Mr. Chairman, I have some numbers on that if you'd like it, or do you want to wait until the public hearing, Brian?
Why don't you go ahead, Bob? Give Bob DeBella from the Savings Bank can talk to you about it, because it's a good question that Matt raised, and I think I misunderstood it. So Bob, maybe you can kind of talk about what the Savings Bank has done for their parking issues.
Yeah,
I think it'd be good to hear. Yes.
We currently own 22 spots across the street behind our standalone ATM on Main Street. And we also lease 5 spaces from Jack Polano. We lease an additional 20 spaces down at McDonald's Funeral Home. And currently we lease 8 spaces from the Wakefield Item. And they're holding, if they get extra spaces available, I've asked them to hold them for me. Glenn Dolbear said that he would. But, in looking at my numbers today, we actually have, as standalone as we do today, we've actually got 2 more spaces than I actually need today. And it looks like, and some of this may change because some of these folks may end up working from home. This COVID has shown us an opportunity to, where some positions may continue to work from home. but I think I might be short somewhere around 5 spaces or so. So I think with the opportunities to lease additional, I haven't spoken to the McDonald's yet, but they may have extra spaces for me where I would actually have, you know, adequate parking for everybody that might be coming over. As it looks right now, it's probably going to be somewhere around between 15 and 18 people coming to the downtown. And I think I've got excess coverage for that right now.
So that's additional employees that would be coming downtown?
Yes. Yep. And I've got, so it would be a total of 63 employees. And I've got, and I'm short 8, basically. I'm short, as of today, I'm short 8 spaces, but that doesn't include any work from home opportunities that we might, there are going to be some positions that remain work from home even after COVID's done. So it may be even less than that. And I'll reach out to Glenn again to see if he has any additional spaces for me, or even Bill McDonald down at the funeral home to see if I could get some additional spaces there. But I think we'll pretty much have it covered. Very close right now.
But those leasing of spaces is basically temporary because they could disappear at any point.
Well,
correct? So, okay, that's all.
okay.
Bill, do you have any comments for Attorney McGrail and Mrs. DeBella? All right, Bill, you're on mute. I don't know if you have anything to say, but if you do have anything, you're muted. All right. If
Yes, Bill.
Yep. Hi, Bill.
I didn't have, no, I had it all. No, I didn't have anything to say. I was
All
just.
right. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. All right. Attorney McGrail, would you like to hear from anybody else in the meeting for feedback?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if any,
Sure.
I welcome it. You know, that's kind of why I'm here. So if
Okay.
anyone has any ideas or comments, things that they think we should add or delete or address, you know, I'd love to
Okay.
hear it. That's why we're here. So
Okay.
welcome.
Anybody else has any comments?
And there'll be a public hearing process too, obviously, but
Right. Right. Well, as you mentioned, it would be next Monday, town council, where you'll review and get feedback from them, correct?
yeah, so I think next Monday will be town council. And I've reached out to the town administrator. I've asked him to, normally the town council just refers it to the planning board, but I've
Right.
asked him I've respectfully asked the town administrator to consider making it an agenda item. I'd like to explain to the town council why we're back and what we're doing and what the differences are. And then,
Okay.
and then they would refer it to your board for a public hearing. And then I would work with Susan to do the necessary public, well, actually, then we go back to your board and you set the public hearing.
Right.
And we would do the legal notices that are required in postings and publications. And then we would have the public hearing. So I think we could have 2 public hearings on this in October.
October 13th, October 27th.
Correct.
Right.
That's where I would anticipate that the public hearings would be prior to the town meeting in November, whenever that.
Okay. So any comments?
Are you opening it up to the public?
I am.
Oh, great. Hi, Braun Delavolpe, 8 Cyrus Street. Thank you very much for the information here. I did have a question. Where is the business district? I know we're talking about downtown, but where would this bylaw apply elsewhere?
Attorney McGrail, if you'd like to handle that.
Yeah, I can.
Because this is, again, this is more of an information session.
I'm happy to answer it. You
Yeah,
know,
okay.
yeah, I'm trying to think of where, just bear with me, maybe the best way to do that is, hang on. See if I can do this. Can you just bear with me, Mr. Chair, just for a minute?
Sure. If you're looking for the zoning map,
Yeah, do you have that?
well, I happen to be on the town website.
That's what, yeah, it is. Do you want to go on and you want to give back control to you or want me to do it?
If
I
you-
can look. I can look at that if,
Yeah.
so in other words, any place that's zoned business on the zoning map, this bylaw, should it pass, would apply to, correct?
Correct. But
Okay.
but it would not apply to neighborhood business. It would not apply to limited business, solely the business district, which I think is mainly, you know, the downtown area, and then Greenwood. And then there are some other scattered places through the town where the business district is, various smaller business districts are located.
Okay, so the way the bylaw is written now, do you think that's sufficient to cover, is it sufficiently clear that it doesn't cover the areas that you just outlined?
Oh, the limited business in the neighborhood business?
Yes.
I think it does. I do, because those are specific designated different districts. They go by a different name, limited business and neighborhood business.
Okay. Can you just very briefly explain the floor area ratio, please?
Yes. So floor area ratio, so by way of example, if you had a 10,000 square foot lot, we're in the business district, the floor area ratio, what's allowed is 1.5. So that means you could have a 15,000 square foot building. And not footprint, meaning every floor.
Right. Okay.
So right now, the savings bank buildings do not comply with that the way they already exist. They don't.
I'm sorry, they don't what?
They don't comply with the 1.5 as they are today.
Okay.
Not many things do in that area. If you start going up above a couple of stories, you're gonna have a hard time meeting that requirement.
Okay. Now, when we're talking about the setback, wouldn't it be similar to what the Hartshorn is now? Because the Hartshorn is right on the sidewalk.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, most of the buildings downtown are right on the sidewalk. Or the
Correct.
Yeah. So.
Correct. So because this would be a new construction, you would need a bylaw to cover that?
Yeah, because what's going to happen, Ms. Delavope, is that lot is going to be one lot. It's going to be incorporated because, for example, what the savings bank is going to do is they're going to build a structure on that lot and attach it to their other buildings.
Yes.
So now they're going to get rid of the lot lines, and that's going to be one lot. So that structure would have to meet the setback. And because the Oddfellows building is over 50 feet, it triggers that front yard setback requirement in footnote 8.
Okay. All right. I too have some concerns about the parking because, correct me if my math is wrong, but if you have approximately 55 spaces now, including leasing from Polano and McDonald's Funeral Home and 8 spaces at the item, you have 55 spots. Plus, if there's 18 more employees due in, that's 73. So you're already down by 18 spaces.
I think the math is a little off. I believe I had 67 spaces.
Yeah, could I, Mr. Chairman? I
Yes,
have
please.
I have 45 employees that need spaces today. I'm bringing down another 18. That brings me to 63. I know I have 55 spots today. So I think
Correct. And if you add 18 to that, how many is that?
no, I have 45 employees today. If I add 18, that brings me to 63.
Okay, and you have 55 spots now.
I have 55 spots today, yes.
Okay, so that's 18. All right, so how many spots are you down according to your calculations?
8,
8?
yes.
Okay. Okay. And did you have any plans as to where you might add those?
I have some possibility of some spots at the Wakefield item building. They were leasing 8 spots there today, but Glenn had mentioned that he may have some coming up, and he's going to let me know. I haven't contacted McDonald's Funeral Home if there's an additional spots. We released 20 from them today, and I don't know if he has any additionals, but I can reach out to him.
Okay. All right.
Some of these employees that I'm counting are part-time employees, so they may not be here all the time. So, but that's just the count as it is as of today.
I see. Thank you. I guess my final question really is, why is this bylaw needed?
Attorney McGrail, if you can address, I know this has been reviewed, but please, if you can bring that up again.
Sure. Pardon me if you hear my dogs barking in the background here. Just bear with me on that, if you would. One of the things with Zoom. Yeah, the reason the bylaw is needed is we went over this, and we'll go over it again in detail in the public hearings, but it's a good question. I respect the question. Basically, what we're trying to do is provide banks that are a key component to our business district the opportunity to reasonably expand on their lots and be able to get the relief to do that in a special permit format rather than a variance to entice them to continue to do business downtown. We went over this during the prior public hearing. You know, for example, on a lot of the banks today are becoming lifestyle type opportunities that people, you know, they go in and have a cup of coffee. There's a lounge area. They stand up in the lobby. They interact. So it creates more need for floor space, which is kind of not real efficient because it's more wide open and inviting. You know, as an example, Capital One Bank has now opened at Market Street. You know, this is a direct competitor. You know, we're always talking about keeping our downtown competitive with lifestyle malls like Market Street. This is an opportunity that we think will afford our banks, especially the established banks in the downtown, what they need to expand and know that they can. You know, you can say, well, you could get a variance. Well, no one wants to get a variance. You know, variance can be difficult, and they can be very difficult on appeal. So, you know, when you plan these things and the banks plan their futures, they don't plan 6 months ahead. They plan years ahead and where they're going to be and be located. And we think in working with the savings bank, and there was testimony from other banks downtown, the Cooperative Bank and the East Boston Savings Bank last time, that this is needed to build confidence in them to stay. So that's just one aspect of it. I can get into others, but I hope that touches it, and we will talk more about that at the public hearing.
Thank you for that, but I'm still a little unclear because what does this bylaw do that the Zoning Board of Appeals can't do?
This bylaw allows this relief to be via special permit rather than a variance. Basically is what it does.
Okay, so is the special permit a given then?
No, it's not a given. It's a discretionary permit by the Board of Appeals. But
as is a variance, so that's why I'm a little confused.
Yes, but if you ask any land use attorney, you know, what their thoughts are on a variance, if a variance is appealed, okay, your chances are very difficult in winning it in court. And it's a lengthy process to do so. So it creates a lot of anxiety with banks to say, hey, we're going to plan our future here. We don't want to plan our future that we've got to deal with variances.
Okay, it just seems like this is sort of an anticipatory kind of a step, because but reading this, it just sounds like the ZBA does all this anyway. And I understand it sounds like you're concerned about an appeal. I have some experience with appeals. So I'm still unsure why this is seems like a preemptive strike to me. That's what it feels like to me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I'm hoping all this helps, Attorney McGrail, with.
It does. I appreciate the
Together.
comments. I really do. You know, they are helpful and I welcome them.
Okay. Any other public comments? I'd like to keep it moving. I know this is more of a discussion and we will be scheduling public hearings. I would like to get on to the other agenda items.
We're fine. We thank you very much for your time and we thank the public for their input.
All right, excellent.
you.
All right, and then if there's anything else you need between now and the next meeting, if something does come up and you want some more discussion after the town council meeting, but before we go to public notices, please contact myself and Susan and we could figure that out.
Yes, once we get through the town council, I'll work with you and Susan on the legal notices.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you could please give back the host.
Yeah, can you help me with that?
I might have to give it back again, but
Hold on, let me see. So what I do here is, help me with this, Mr. Chair, if you could, so I can give.
so if
this-
you stop sharing,
Oh, okay. Stop share. Yep.
right, that's one. And then I think if you go under your participants window,
Yep.
it should have an option.
I have mute my video, stop video, rename, pin video, spotlight video, or hide self.
That's interesting. Mr. Ogren, how did we do it in the last meeting where you gave back the host? Or in previous meeting?
I believe if you look at the picture of Bill, you pick the dots.
Okay,
Does it have an option up there to? But I think the other way it did it too was, as you said, under participants.
right. I thought there was an option under participants to grant host. So like you could go,
I can do that right now. I have John's right. If I go into your screen, I can
okay,
make you the host.
that would be great.
Or I can make you a co-host. Would that be more appropriate? There you go.
Sure,
You're all set. I think you have it
All
now,
right.
Mr. Chairman.
awesome, thanks.
Thank you, John.
No problem.
Let's see. Zoning sources. There we go. Don't need the zoning map. And item number 4, Lovis Ave extension. So that's you again. So maybe you could have kept the host.
Yeah.
But I could actually scroll down because
Oh, yeah,
after the
that's-
bank information, we have the information here for Lovis Ave.
Yep.
Can you see the screen okay?
I can.
All right.
Yep. And I think the plans are there too. I think Susan loaded those for us.
Right. So let me keep scrolling down. I don't know if they'll pop in here. There we go.
Yep.
If you want to give an introduction where you'd like to start,
Sure.
I could either give you control or I could
Oh, I'd rather you
zoom
keep,
around.
I'd rather you keep it if you don't mind, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
If you could go back up, I guess, to the draft decision.
Okay.
I guess we'll start there.
So what I'm doing on the screen too is whoops, too far. Look at that. So I'm using the scroll bars at the bottom to go back and forth, but I am holding down control to and then the scroll to zoom in and out. I believe that's the beginning. Is that right? There we go.
Sure.
Okay.
So, if I may, Mr. Chair,
Yep.
John Ogren is here with me on this tonight. Where we are on this, if you remember at the last meeting or the last couple of meetings, we met with a lot of the neighbors out on the site. We came up with a request from the neighbors to provide some screening on our lot in a no disturb area, which is in the back of lot 2. And we told you that we had to go to the Conservation Commission in order to get permission to do some plantings in that no disturb area, because we were talking about some arborvitaes and some screening. So we were working with John Tedesco, who's one of the neighbors and very skilled. John's very involved in landscaping. And him and John Ogren from Hayes Engineering worked on a plan and a schematic on what would be beneficial. And what we determined was, where we talked about planting some significant arborvitaes on our property, it really wouldn't work because of the topography and the conditions out there, that it was not the best place to do it. The best place to do it was on the neighbor's lot, on their property. So that's what we decided to do. And we can go to that sheet of the plan. That might be the best. John, do you know what sheet that is if the chair scrolls down?
I think it's sheet 6.
All right. These are a little slower. Is it that one?
Nope, you gotta go up. We're
Oh,
way down the
okay.
bottom. You're at the end. You're in the A&R plan, the next hearing.
All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. This one?
Yep, that's the one.
Okay.
Can you blow that up, Mr. Chairman? Is that possible?
Yes. Which part do you need to see?
Back of lot 3.
Oh, sorry, that jumped. There you go. Wow.
You're doing better than I
You
did.
gotta hide your faces. That's 10, 9. Come on.
That's it.
Yeah, it's jumping on me when I
Oh, I got
when I
you.
move it. Thinks
Can
I'm
leave it
going
right there.
further. I'm not. All right. So, what do we need to look at closely? This part
Oh,
here.
perfect, right there.
Okay.
You gotta go shrink it down a little bit.
Shrink it down just a bit.
Can you shrink it down a little bit more? Yeah, right there is perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. So what John Tedesco, one of the abutters, and John Ogden came up with was this plan that proposed to plant the 7 green giant arborvitaes on the abutters property, not on our property, because it's more conducive and they will do better there. And we've agreed to do that, but as we discussed with the abutters, and Ellen Grossman's on, she's one of the abutters and an attorney, and we discussed that we wanted this as part of the plan and in a decision, because now it's binding that it's required to be done because it shows on the plan and it's in the decision. And it would run with the subdivision if it happened to be sold, that those would be planted. So those show on the plan, and I've inserted a condition in that regard in the draft decision that I submitted to the board. And then John Tedesco also brought up a concern that, gee, in that no disturb area, when some of the trees, when some of the other trees are removed, it might create an opportunity for some invasive species. So, it would really be good to plant some wetland plants in there, native type plants that would do well. So in addition to doing the arborvitaes, we agreed to do that. And you can see that it's a hatched area right behind the house on, there you go, right in
Over
that
here.
area.
Okay.
And it leads to an arrow. It says area to be planted with the following.
And I just want to, and this is from your comments with the Conservation Commission?
Well, what happened is we went back to the Conservation Commission to make sure that they would allow us to do that, because that's a no disturb area for the Conservation Commission. And John, I wasn't at that meeting. Could you confirm that they had no issue with that?
Yeah, they essentially, we presented the same plan and they essentially voted that this change was a minor modification to the already issued order of conditions. So they did not have a problem with it.
Because we did not want to have a condition on your plan that then we could not do according to Conservation.
Right.
So Conservation has no issue with any of this. They support it. And I think that the neighbors are pretty satisfied with this. I think they're happy with this. You know, a couple of them are here and Ellen's here, so I'm sure they could talk about that.
Okay.
And so that you know, we accomplished that. And then I submitted a draft decision as you requested me to do with conditions on this. And I think I hit on all of the other conditions that were discussed through the hearing process, primarily being that we're going to get our fill from next door. And also, Matt was adamant, and we respected it, that until that roadway work that Mr. Caruso is required to do on his A&R lots, which our access comes over, that we will not obtain occupancy permits until that road work is completed pursuant to the specs that were laid out by the planning board with Mr. Caruso. I think if you scroll down, I think there are later conditions. As you know, a lot of these conditions are fairly standard. Oop, back up, let me see. Keep going if you could. Let's see. Could you go back down, Mr. Chair? I'm missing it. I don't know. Matt,
Sure.
did you see it, Matt? Do you know where it is?
Three C.
Yeah, I think it's jumping. I think what's happening is it's jumping.
Well, there's 3A.
Let's see. We missing pages?
You're missing page 4, yeah.
5 of 10. Page 4 is missing.
Yeah,
Ah,
it's on page 4, 3C.
do you want me to email that to you, Mr. Chairman? You can bring it up. Or you have it on your email, I think.
Yeah,
I think I do.
I think
it was sent because I printed it out, so.
Right.
somehow
Yeah.
when they scanned it to put it online for the web, they just, page 4 got,
It's just a PDF. I'm surprised how one page is missing. The page we need. Haha. Let me stop my share. I'll have it up in a. Okay. All right, let me open up. I know one's a Word document, so I'm opening up the actual Word document that you sent. Let me share it. And I was trying to go through it slowly. I thought I was just missing it. I couldn't find that exact part. I believe this is the one. 3C. Here we go. Can you all see that? Attorney McGrail, you're on mute. I didn't know if you were talking.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's not it. If you could scroll further down. Keep going. Going. There you go. So it's actually page 7.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll make a note. We have to make sure we get the latest documents up there posted on the webpage.
So 17 deals with what I was talking about, that those improvements have to be done. And 16 deals with the fill coming over. There's something else I wanted to point out to you also that we talked about. Do you want to, Mr. Chair, do you want to go through these one at a time? Is that something, I mean, a lot of them are standard. You know, like 14 I put in because that was something that Matt wanted.
I don't think so. I think
gas line connections because, you know, you're concerned with the street, so we'd have to go back to the board.
Right. We're also concerned with it being Stoneham, Wakefield line. I don't know if we have to go through everyone. I can ask Matt or Bill, but I know I read through it. This one, not the one that's posted on the website, but this, sorry for the confusion there. But if this document is the same one that was sent to us last week, this is, right.
It is.
So I want to see, maybe we can just go over to see if Matt has any questions, and if Bill has any questions, we can.
Yeah. If I could point
them.
If I could just point one thing out, I think it's number 7 because I wanted to, you know, this is something that was. Keep going further if you would. Okay, I think it's 9 or 8. It's 8. I apologize, but I wanted to point this out. So I thought this was important because a lot of, you know, I went through my notes and a lot of the concern on lot 3 was how far back the house was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So what, you know, as you know, usually we're allowed to change the footprint of the house as long as the square footage doesn't get any bigger. And as long as we meet zoning setbacks. But on this, I put the proposed dwelling shown on lots on the plan for illustrative purposes. Thus, except for the rear setback of the proposed dwelling shown on lot 3 on the plan, which shall not encroach any further on the abutter to the rear, the dimension. So we've locked in that rear setback on that house. So nobody can go closer to the folks that abut lot 3.
Right.
And that was something that was very concerning to the board and to those abutters who, you know, we've met with and talked to and are trying to address their concerns.
And I could share, well, if you want to go back to the plan, let me know.
It's up to you. You can show where that is if you
want.
want.
Let's see if Matt and Bill have any questions, and
Sure.
then we can do what we need to do.
Well, one of my comments was, and I've said this all along, is that you're going to get material from the lot next door instead of trucking it back and forth. But your item 16 here doesn't really, you know, it says you're going to get, you know, supplying fill material directly from adjacent property, but you know, we still don't know how much you're going to get, how much you're going to be bringing in. Have you done
I can tell you that I can tell you that we've entered into an agreement with him because he's getting parcel A, which we talked about on the plan, to go with his lot. And we've entered an agreement, and it meets the amount that John estimated, that our agreement estimates that he will be providing 120 truckloads of fill material. And I think, John, if you could confirm, that's,
Yeah, that's correct.
yeah. I mean, it's only been, we have an agreement with him, number one, and number two, it's beneficial to him instead of having it, he'd rather, and the other thing too is, and I can tell you this, we're paying for it. So, so what's going to happen is, I think it's going to be much easier for him, because he's going to be processing that up there, and it's much easier for him to sell it to us next door than trucking it off site. And I think he's pretty happy with what's going to transpire here.
All right. So I know you have something in here about blasting.
Excuse me.
I did, yeah. I don't think we don't really anticipate a lot of blasting, but I copied that from prior stuff right there, 2020.
All right. How about processing materials? When's that allowed?
John, can you talk about that? I don't know if we really have any material to process. You're talking about if we have excess fill, we're crushing it?
Well, all the material you're getting from next door is basically, it's rocks right now, correct? So they're going to be
Correct.
crushed, processed. That's going to be done on your site, on his site?
Oh, it's going to be done on his site, because he has A&R lots with, he's not bound by anything. So he's not doing any of that on our site.
So he's going to be crushing, he's going to be processing it all over there.
Yeah, which he's going to do anyways.
Okay.
So,
So that can be done there's no restrictions on hours for that or anything.
well, there's a noise bylaw. Local town noise bylaw that he would have to comply
Yeah,
with.
which is thoroughly enforced. Yes, I understand. So.
Yeah.
All right.
I put in London, if you could scroll down a little bit more, I'm just highlighting some things here in the draft. The board normally likes the London plane tree or an alternative, that's something that has been recommended by the, but that's going to be up to the board.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. So is that something we have say in, or you just put that in there as a placeholder, or what's?
I kind of put that in as a placeholder, because that's what you've done in the past couple of subdivisions. That's what you have on Prospect Street. If you remember, you had discussions with Jim Emanuel, the landscape architect,
Right.
and he thought that the London plane tree was really the best street tree at this point, because of the way it grows and the size. And I think Dennis Fazio agreed with that. But I left it open because I expect that, or an alternative that you want.
All right. And then the other thing, you've got any damage to streets or ways within the town of Wakefield? What about any damage to town of Stoneham? Because you have to enter through Stoneham to get to this property, so.
Yep.
So you may want to add that in there too, or?
That's up to you. If you want that in,
Yeah, I want that in.
I figured you did. Yep.
What number was that, Matt? It was
Matt,
towards the beginning, wasn't it?
That's 3A.
thank you.
All right.
All right, well, I'm just going to point out then, if that processing material is going to be done on the adjacent lot, we have no say in it, so any complaints can't be blamed on the planning board. So if it happens all weekend long, that's something people are gonna have to complain directly to the town about. I prefer to have something better than that, but unfortunately, that's what we're stuck with.
I want to, if I could just point out on that, I just wanted, we have no control over that. And I think you know that. Because that's not our property, not part of our subdivision. So
Right.
if we were doing it on our lot, we'd be happy to take a condition on that. We have before.
And yeah, I would prefer that too, because I've had to live through subdivisions that have not had those conditions on it and subject to processing at all hours. So.
I think the fact that a lot of that material is going to be brought onto our site is going to be beneficial. And some of what we need fulfilled doesn't need to be crushed. So
Is there anything that, Bill, is there anything that you have any questions on?
Yeah, with the trees and stuff that they were putting in, the arborvitaes and everything, who's going to be taking care of those and watering them and seeing to that they do flourish and not just die, 6 months later and nobody replaces anything? As I see that it happens on some sites. I'd like to know how they're going to be taken care of. Like the giant arborvitae, they need water. They have to be planted at the right time.
Yep.
You can, and how big are they going to be? Are you going to put 3-foot arborvitae? I mean, I think that should. You should say they're giant arborvitae. You're going to put a 3-foot one there.
no, I don't think so. I think, John, can you address that? It's spec'd on the plan, right?
Yeah, we expect them to be.
Want me to go back to it?
No, I get it. They're expected to be 12 to 14 feet high. And as discussed with the abutters, they felt it was best if they essentially took over control and maintenance and watering and of those arborvitaes to ensure that they do continue to grow and don't die.
Well, there's really a lot of work to those. I know in my backyard. And if you don't stay on it, and people will not, they will die. They will die. They have to be watered all the time. They need a lot of water. And it depends on the time of year it's planted and everything. Or they're just going to die.
Well, I can tell you this, Mr. Demori, that Mr. Tedesco, who is one of the abutters, who he's in the landscaping business, in the landscaping irrigation business, he's probably one of the best around. He spec'd this and they want to, this is going to be on their land. So, once we plant these, we have no right to go on and maintain them and water them. It's going to be in their yard. So I think it's going to be in their best interest because it's a pretty significant financial investment that my client's making to do it. It's going to be in their best interest to maintain it. If they don't, quite frankly, there's not much we can do about it. It's a benefit for them that, we're happy to provide, but after that, they're going to have to maintain it. I don't know what else we could do.
Well, I think they could if it's a healthy tree and it's going to be really, attentively, just to water it every day, depending on the time of the season and everything. I just know from experience. And are they being who are they being planted by? An arborist that knows how to plant them? Or is this some guy just throwing them in a hole?
I think my client actually talked about hiring Mr. Tedesco's company to do it. Who, they do that stuff. But in any event, could you scroll to that condition, Mr. Chairman? Because I put a condition in on this.
Sure.
I think it's going to give maybe it will give Mr. Demori and the board some comfort.
I think it was down.
I think it's down, yeah. Because I tied it to the surety. So the board actually has some kind of say in this.
I think it was around here.
Let me see. And Bill, I
There's
I
the
dealt with
gas lines.
No, so while you're here, if I can point this out for Mr. Demori, because that was one of his conditions on the notes. Number 15, the fence on the retaining wall shall be installed into the holes on top of the wall, Bill, or in front of the wall, not mounted. That was your condition. If you keep going, I think it's further down on the plantings. There you go. So 18. So it's prior to the release of surety, the applicant shall install the arborvitae's on the abutter's property shown on sheet 6 of the plan. Only if the abutter allows the installation will occur, which obviously they will, but if they change their mind, there's nothing we can do about it. And maintenance and the replacement of the arborvitae shall be responsibility of the abutter. So I think what that allows you to do is to check it out before you release surety, that you're satisfied how it's been done, because it's tied to you releasing the surety on the subdivision.
But what's the size of them? Does it say the size?
12 to 14 feet high.
12 to 14 feet high? That's
Yep.
okay. Okay. No, that's a pretty good height. I think we'd give it a chance to grow, but just so it's planted right, and everything.
Yeah. I mean, Bill, we could add, I always want to address the concerns. That's one of my goals. So if you want to, if we could beef that language up to say that they're to be professionally installed. We can wordsmith that if it would make you more satisfied.
Right. I mean, there's some good people in this town that do that. I'm not going to give you anybody's names or anything, but I'm just saying that they do a very good job.
Yeah.
And there's some people that don't.
Well, why don't we say that they'll be professionally installed to the satisfaction of the planning board?
Yeah, I'd like that.
And that way, if the abutter has any issue, they can go to the board and say, hey, don't release the surety. We don't like the job that was done. So it gives you some leverage.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, yes.
You can look at it before you release the surety to make sure you're satisfied it was done appropriately.
Okay. That would be good. Thank you. That's all.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill. Attorney McGrail, I know you mentioned on item 22, the species of the street trees shall be London plane trees. I think the standard detail for the town that's on one of the sheets towards the end of the set lists a different tree. I think a maple or something. I have to go back and look.
Oh, so we have an inconsistency?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know if you need to mention London plane trees, or do you want it to be street trees?
I'll be honest with you. The only reason I mentioned that is that's what you did on Prospect Street after
Right.
discussion, but that might have been specific to that subdivision.
That was special for Prospect.
Yeah, it might have been.
I think if they're the trees from the published street trees that we put out a few years ago, I think that would be fine. I don't
Okay.
think we need to approve this because we already put a list together of
Understand.
trees that it can be.
Okay, so I can change that, Mr. Chairman, with your review.
And it's the town of Wakefield planting detail. It's noting tree planting shall be red sunset, red maple.
That might be, that's interesting. Is that the same of the 3 trees that are planted up on the front of Prospect Street? I think that's what those were. I think they were. Just
I have to look
coincidental.
back in my notes.
Yeah.
I don't think they were red maples. I thought they were oak,
It might be oak.
but I don't think they were red maples.
So-
But it's
so
on
that-
sheet 10. It's on the last sheet of the set.
Okay. So I can modify that condition.
Any other comments, Matt or Bill, to any of the conditions or the plans as presented?
Nothing else.
Brian, do you want to do a quick review of items that need to be addressed? Just want to make sure we have them.
I think I've addressed them all, Mr. Chairman. I think I've
Right.
addressed them in these draft conditions. And I think we've addressed, what the butters requests were.
Okay, so item number 22 about the London plane trees.
The
That's
arborvitae's.
been addressed.
Yeah.
The abrevieties. Also, the improvements to Lovis, the addition of 3 A, not just to read the town of Wakefield, but to read the towns or of Wakefield and Stoneham.
Yes.
I believe that was the other note. I'm just going up my list.
Yep.
And I believe that was it. And we heard from Mr. Ogren about the Conservation Commission and the approval of the plan as noted. So you're completed. You're done with the Conservation Commission. You don't need to go back, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you're waiting on us. So what's the next step?
Well, we would respectfully, I think, request your approval.
Right.
We've addressed all the concerns. I think we really spent some time on this. We fine tuned it.
Right.
And so that's what we're respectfully requesting tonight.
So with the conditions that we've noted for 3A and for 22, were those the only two that would actually need to be
Well,
revised?
I've got the town of Stoneham, the arborvitae's that we just talked about with Mr. Demori.
Right, but that read correctly. I don't think there was a
Oh, yeah.
need for a change. I'm
No,
just
I think it
thinking of
needs-
some,
I told Bill I would change that, Mr. Chairman, to tighten that up, to tighten up that arborvitae's, to say that they're going to be professionally installed.
okay, that's
to the
right.
Satisfaction
Yeah.
of the planning board.
Right.
To give you an opportunity to inspect them before you release
Okay.
surety. So they'll be tied, even though they're outside the subdivision, they'll be tied into our surety.
Okay,
There's a change that's needed on that. And then the street tree.
right. Matt and Bill, are you, any other comments? Do either of you want to make a motion?
I don't have any comments. I would make a motion to close public hearing on Ovis Ave extension hearing.
Bill, second that?
I'll second that. Yes, I would.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, got all three of us. Thank you. So public hearing is now closed. And want to make a motion to accept. Let me go back to the very top. I think we have the right wording here. So definitive subdivision plan entitled Plan of Lovis Avenue Extension, Wakefield, Mass. As dated, the dates aren't, I know this is a draft. Let me,
Now, if you scroll down, they're there.
they are, okay.
Yep.
Let me just fast scroll.
It's right at the beginning, right at the top.
Oh, was it at the beginning? I'm sorry.
Right there, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
gives you the final revision dates,
right.
of each sheet.
Sheets, final revision of September 2nd, 2020.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Unanimous approval. Okay. What's the next step? Attorney McGrail, how do you want to process delivery, sign off, Mylars?
Yeah, so the process would be that I will modify this, red line this for you, Mr. Chairman, so you can see the changes that I make to us, and then to your satisfaction, and wordsmith it to those changes.
Mm-hmm.
And fill in some blanks because we didn't know what the date was going to be. And then as you are duly authorized, you would sign it, and then Sue could file it with the town clerk's office.
Okay. And the Mylars do need to be signed by all of us, correct?
Yeah, once the appeal periods
through.
and
Okay.
all the other stuff goes through, then that will come at a later date.
Okay. And when do you expect just to close it off?
With you,
Expect to have this back for review?
I'll have it back to you by the end of the week. I don't
Okay.
think there's a lot of significant changes.
Right.
And I'd like to thank the board and the abutters for your help and cooperation with this, especially the abutters too. You know, they were so welcoming. We had just a great site visit with them, great people, and it was such a cooperative effort when we met with them. So thank you to them. I think some of them are on, and thank you for being welcoming and making it better. And thank you for the board for all of your time. You spent a lot of time on this. And I think when you look at what else is happening up in that area with the other 3 houses that are being built that now have a cul-de-sac, as the fire chief said, where people can turn around and trucks can turn around, it's going to make for a better neighborhood. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it was a lot of work. It's when did we start Lovis Ave project? Early 2019.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, don't forget all the conservation peer review and all the
Mm-hmm.
time that took. So I think, you know, it always makes for a better project, and I think it will be. So thank you.
Well, I believe in the process. It seems to work, and the more abutters and townsfolk that join in and give their opinions, it helps us understand more of what we need to do. So I'm glad it's working out.
Thank you.
Thanks. Where did I leave everything else? Oh, man. I think I actually closed the agenda at one point. All right. Attorney McGrail, please don't go away.
I'm here.
Item number 5, 201 Nahan Street, A&R plan. So I do have that, and I can share. And thank you for getting that ready. I'm going to stop the share and reshare it because I don't think it didn't work last time for me. I believe this is the plan. Let's, if you can confirm that this is the latest, I just want to make sure.
It is, I think. Right, John? John, we able to confirm that.
Right. Like, let me zoom into here. Yep. That looks like the latest.
John, do you agree, John Ogren? Oh, am I muted?
John's not muted.
Where's John? John's muted. John Ogren, you're muted.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Sorry. Yes, that is the latest plan.
Thank you, John.
Okay, there's the date. Okay, understand. All right, go ahead. Take it away, please.
So, John, that includes the revision that was presented by the board. That's included.
Yep, it was the address and the title, which you can
Great,
see.
thank you. Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I represent the Pissarro family. I think Angela is on with us. Not,
Hello.
she's hiding behind the screen, but Angela is on. The Pissarros have lived on Nahan Street for years. A long-standing Wakefield family, friends of my family. Angela is, it's really her mom's property. It's in trust. or actually, yeah, it's in trust with that she's one of the trustees. And this is really a plan that they've had for quite some time. And now family circumstances, it's time to implement it. And what's happening here is they have a house on Nahant Street, which is labeled as Lot A. Could you maybe blow that up just to hear, Mr. Chair? Perfect, thank you. And they also have frontage on Kathleen Drive. So what, pretty simple A&R plan that they're dividing the property to create a separate legal buildable lot under the current zoning requirements on Kathleen Drive for a single family home. And then parcel C in the back, the plan to that is, if you could shrink it down a little bit now, because you can see the significance of the land that the Pizarros own. So, you know, what we looked at early on with John was the possibility of doing a larger subdivision in here and putting like a roadway cul-de-sac. And then, you know, the more we talked about it with Angela, they really feel satisfied just doing this one lot. And then this parcel C, they're cutting off, and they're actually gonna sell it to the neighbors. Calls for that piece of property to go to Dorney and Jolly next door. And it's labeled as such, I think, right, John, on your notes? Yep, in the notes section.
Oh, and no, yes, the purpose of the plan, yes.
Let me move over there.
So as you can see, parcel C is not to be considered a separate building lot, but is to be added to the abutting land of Dorney and Jolly. So I think it's a pretty straightforward approval, not required plan, which means, as you know, that with all due respect, we don't need the planning board's approval, but we need your signature.
Understood. It's nice to have an endorsed plan though, isn't
Yeah, it kind of helps.
it? Right, right.
And,
does
and I
seem
have
straightforward.
the application, Mr. Chair, that you're going to have to sign.
Mhm.
COVID makes that a little bit difficult, so I can maybe email that to you.
Electronic signatures, we've done these in the past now with town council, Tom Mullen's approval. It was okay for us to do it in the past. So if we do endorse this tonight, I have no problem signing an electronic version.
That would be great, and then I'll file it with the town clerk, and I'll drop off the application fee to Susan,
Okay,
because you need a
that
check.
definitely works, right?
Yeah, you need a check from us too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
we can
So-
coordinate that tomorrow, assuming this goes forward.
Well, I know reviewing the plans, and thank you for adding all the information that we require now. I just want to see if Matt or Bill have any comments about the plan.
No, I reviewed it. I don't have any comments or questions.
I don't have any comments.
All right,
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the plan of land of 201 Nahant Street, Wakefield, Massachusetts, prepared by Hayes Engineering, dated August 7th, 2020.
I'll second.
Okay, is that the correct date, or do we want is the plan date? Want to make sure we have the right date.
That's what the plan says, correct?
That's the plan date.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, this is one of those coordination ones that once I get the Mylar from John, we can
Yes.
leave it maybe at your house, and then you can circulate it to the other board members. The
Sure, that
Mylar.
works.
Okay.
Yes, start with my house,
Yep.
and I'm not sure how soon you'll have this. What is your plan?
Well, I'll file everything with Sue tomorrow that, you know, with the town clerk that we have to file post meeting. So I would say, John, is the Mylar printed yet?
Yeah, I had the Mylar. I just didn't drop it off yet. I didn't know what to do with it.
Well, I'm glad you didn't just say you dropped it off at my office, because I wouldn't know where it is.
Well, that's why I didn't know what would happen to it if I.
Right.
Yeah, so I would say in the next, you know, probably by the end of the week, we'll drop it, and, you know, no worries. Maybe we can, get it early next week so the board members
Okay.
can do it over the weekend.
That works. If you have it before Friday at noon, that would be even better.
Okay.
We can do some dropping off.
John, I'll probably have you drop it right at Mr. Spalding's house. I'll give you the address, okay?
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much. Let me stop the share.
Thank you.
Actually, I think I could just switch over. Now I got a red dot. I was trying to get there. I was trying to set it so I could have, and go back to the mouse now. So it'd just be easier to see. Can you all see the agenda still? Good. All right, agenda. I think that's it for tonight. Let's see. That's it, Attorney McGrail, I believe,
Yes, sir.
unless you want to hang up.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, as always.
Thank you very much, board members, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
And
Thank
thank you,
you,
Sue,
Barbara.
for all your help.
Yep. Item number 6, Montrose School Lane. Since last Tuesday, I have not stopped by for an update. I don't know, Matt or Bill, if you went by at all.
I haven't yet.
Okay.
Did before, but
Yeah.
can shoot by there tomorrow.
Right. Well, if you don't get there, Bill, let me know. I was planning on going by there on Friday morning. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay.
I do my Friday morning bike ride. Let's see, it was interesting last week, Lovis Ave. I went up there and that was Friday. Was it Friday morning? One of the mornings. They were doing work on Spring, so they were diverting traffic up and over and around up there. So I don't think it had anything to do with the project, obviously, or what's going on up there. It was more road work. Next item number 7, Glendale Ave, Ossipee Lane. Matt, do you have a report? Did you get back out there?
Yeah, I went up, I met with with Bill Hannigan and the contractor. We walked the site, had the entire site flagged for limit of work. And then the contractor went through and marked all the trees that are going to be removed. And there were a bunch that they wanted to look at to see if they should be kept or saved.
Were they outside, just outside the limit?
There were some outside, there were some inside. So what it turns out is there's some just outside that were dead or diseased that we agreed that, because of safety issues, they should be taken down. One thing we noticed is there's a really healthy population of oak trees up there with some decent crowns. So the limited tree line that you see on the plan it's actually going to be a lot, further into the lot than that. So that's one of the benefits of having some healthy older growth oak trees up there, is that they're decent crowns. They all look pretty healthy, and there shouldn't be much disturbance from taking the trees down with the ones that are going to be remaining. There were a couple on the edge that we decided that they could be taken down, and the crown that was above it was going to fill in and would actually be a benefit to the ones that are remaining. One thing that we did look at, and Bill has decided they're putting a little smaller house in there, so that one tree, let me just look at my plan.
Was the one at the turnaround, the driveway turnaround?
It's the one at the 26-inch oak at the driveway.
Right.
And there's no promises, but it looks like they're going to be able to keep that one, which I said if they could do that, it would make everyone pretty happy, because that was the tree that the Conservation Commission advised keeping in order to shade out the wetlands area there. And the way that it looks with the grade, it looks like they should be able to save it. So they're going to do some tree protection in there and make sure that hopefully stays.
Excellent.
So, and then one of the other things they discussed doing is there's a section between the Ossipee Road lot and the Glendale lot, where there are currently no trees. And they talked about, right now it shows that it's a do not disturb, and that there's to keep the tree cover there. But there are no trees in there. And they were talking about basically moving equipment back and forth through a small section there. One of the benefits to doing that is they can bring trucks in on one road and drive them out the other. So it will basically not overburden one of the roads with all the equipment backing it up back and forth. So I kind of acted on behalf of the board and said, I think that would be a good benefit. They're going to restore that area after construction's done, because they understand it's between the two houses. They're going to want to clean that up. They're going to put some extra tree planting in there. So there's going to be one section in there where they're going to clean it up, and after they drive trucks across there. So it'll actually be a benefit. So had a very good discussion with them. I feel very good about the contractor and the engineer up there, that they are going to protect that area as much as possible. So I think we're in good hands up there with that. So
That's good to hear, Matt. I'm glad you got a chance to go back out there. So if you don't know, Matt and I went out there, and there was some miscommunication to the meeting spot, and then we had a thunderstorm. But Matt and I did get to see the flags, and they set up another meeting, and Matt was able to go this past Friday at 5. So definitely appreciate your time, Matt. I'm so glad you got to go out, because this has been a big project for us, trying to understand about these trees. It's a beautiful site. I mean, there's a lot of rock. There's a lot of, as Matt mentioned, some nice trees up here. So, which they were looking at making this house lot smaller, the one closer to Glendale.
the house, not the house lot.
The house, right, just
Yes.
the footprint of the house. Okay.
Yeah. So the house they chose for there is going to be slightly smaller, so they'll be able to modify the driveway a little bit and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
protect that tree as much as possible. So
Right. And that tree's like right around here, isn't it? Wasn't it? Like the driveway.
yeah,
Turn
right
around.
at the turnaround, or the curve that curves up to the north, right there.
Yep, that's right. I don't know why these little yellow stickies keep coming up. It's part of their PDF plan. So that's their, looks like it's an intelligent plan. Excellent. Thank you so much. Bill, any comments?
No, I don't have any comments.
Right. Thank you so much, Matt. This is
Ah,
my favorite part of the board, able to see through and go through. And I'm glad you have confidence in the builder out there. Great. What's the next step? Are we was there
So it's
anything
all-
set?
It's all approved. They're going to
Right.
start working on probably start of next week. So
Should we look for a revised plan with a revised limit of work, or should we just let them go with it?
no, the limit of work stays the same. They're just going to potentially save a couple extra trees.
That are inside.
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
couple trees outside, but you know, I don't think they need to be put on the plan at all.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Item number 8, items not anticipated by the chair. Well, before the meeting started, I mentioned that I was really excited about our website, and now that we have some items up there, Susan's been so helpful with getting the information out and posted, and we'll keep working on it. The meeting minutes, I went through the 2019 minutes, and they have been sent to the town, to Sherry, and posted to the website. So this week and the beginning of this week, I'll work on the 2020 notes and make sure those are all organized and send those out too. We do have, once these notes are done for this meeting, we'll have 4 meeting minutes for us to approve as a board. So I apologize to hold up. That was me last week and the week before, not Susan. She had those done. But we are looking at the formatting and adding a note. Was it, Susan, we're adding a note to the top that also, or we're adding a link to the recording? You mentioned other boards do something. I think you're muted, Laura.
Sherry uploads the recordings.
Okay. Do we want to have something on our meeting minutes notes that would have to see the recording, which would mean the meeting minutes, like we've been discussing, to have more of the bullet points and to look at the full recording for the detail?
Sure, yep.
Okay. Well, and I looked at some of the meeting minutes from other boards, and they're not as detailed as our meeting minutes have been in the past. So we're looking at a compromise, especially with the recordings now.
Yeah.
All right, still working on that. Any, Matt or Bill, do you have any comments about the direction, the website, what we're adding to it as a board?
Well, for the meeting minutes, are you assuming that we're going to stay Zoom meetings from here on? Because at some point, I would think we'd be back in-person meetings, and if our notes go to bullet points and then see the meeting, and if we don't have that, what's going to happen at that point?
Well, I think it's a good question, and I think the two options would be, let's keep recording and have all meetings Zoom, so possibly have more participation from the town as well for people with schedules that have conflicts. If we do keep recording, that could be the option. If we don't record, we'd have to go to a more detailed meeting minutes.
Well, I would prefer to go back to regular meetings if that's, an option.
Right. Well, we
Prefer
would
not to do Zoom meetings forever, so.
No, let me be clear. And Matt, I feel the same way. I'd rather be sitting in town hall and having the presentations in front of us with people attending. But I think moving forward, we'd probably look at having some type of AV setup where there's a laptop, Zoom meetings and participation from those who are not present physically. I think we're just going to have to wait and see.
I think it was my understanding through Sherry is both are going to happen. We're going to eventually be back in town hall, but it's also still going to be on Zoom. So
Okay.
that all recordings go on to the website.
Yeah, I think Matt and Bill, please chime in. I think it's the AV side, the technical equipment, that we're more concerned with. I don't know, Matt, if that's your concern.
Well, I guess we'll figure out how we're going to have a Zoom meeting and have everyone, have an actual meeting, and then also have how you show that as a Zoom meeting and have people to participate, because that, a Zoom meeting and a live meeting happening at the same time really doesn't blend together well at this point.
Right.
And I think that would be pretty hard.
Right. And when the time comes, all we could do is experiment and see. Maybe we do a test and see if it does work. But I'm hoping to be back in town hall someday. Right. That's all I have right now. I guess the one is we're waiting. We have an invite for Monday night for the town council meeting to review applicants for the planning board. I know Megan and Joanne, we had a good session last planning board meeting with questions and all. So and I just want to reach out to Megan and Joanne. Did each of you receive an invite to the meeting for next Monday? Okay.
No,
Susan, if you could make a note that Sherry can extend a meeting invite, I believe, to the planning board. Obviously, we need that, but I don't want to jump to a conclusion, or assumption that Megan and Joanne should also be invited to that town council meeting. I guess let me think about that a little bit more. Everybody's invited to the town council meeting. It's a public meeting. So, right? I just want to make sure everybody's aware that the planning board applicants will be discussed and reviewed at that meeting.
Is there a time that this has been proposed? Because I haven't seen anything.
Neither have I.
Either are I.
I don't know, Jonathan, if you know anything
Right.
about if the schedules come out yet?
Sure, Mr. Chair, if I may. Couple
do.
of things. First of all, in answer to the first question, it is a public open meeting, and so the agenda will be available, the time will be available, the Zoom information will be available for everyone. So obviously, the current members of the planning board, we hope you'll attend to vote for the new members, but certainly Joanne and Megan are welcome to attend as well. I believe that the agenda I don't believe the agenda has been put out there yet, but it should be out in the next, I would say, probably 24 to 36 hours, typically when that's typically the time frame that we follow. And so once that's put out there, we'll have a sense as to where the planning board vote is on that agenda.
No, thank you. And that's, I think, the same for all boards, 72 hours before. So that would be tomorrow evening.
Yep.
To be posted tomorrow. Any other items, Matt or Bill, that you'd like to bring up?
Nope.
No, I don't have anything.
That's great. Just to throw it out there, Megan or Joanne, any comments you'd like to bring up? All right, thanks. Well, entertain a motion to adjourn.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor? A second? All in favor? Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Susan.
all right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thanks.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Jonathan.
Susan,
Yep.
thank
Have a
everybody.
good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.